Celtics Reddit podcast.
Back out to Smart. Fakes the pass all the time. Three. Bang! It's Williams three. Lobs it up for Robert Williams.
Should he know? Jaylen Brown. What a thunder!
Tatum. Durant, the long reach. Tatum crossover pull-up jumper. It's good. 50 points for Jayson Tatum.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Celtics Reddit podcast. I'm your host, Celtics Jay, and we're here to celebrate another Celtics win. Go figure. I'm joined tonight, as I often am, by the OG of OC himself, the man on Neesmith Mountain. Rest in peace, ankles.
I know, man.
The Marcus Smart apologizer. I'll never let it die. Mr. Wayne Spoony. Spoons, how you doing, brother?
Good, Jay, man. How you doing tonight?
Listen, it's hard to feel anything but pretty good right now, yeah?
That's right. That is right. I've never seen... So, the year we traded for Isaiah, that was a pretty big midseason turnaround. I think they were pretty under 500, and then they flipped it and ended up 40 and 42. This is, like, insane, man. They went from a 3 games under 500 to, like, the favorite for the title on some of these like advanced stats. Like I've never seen anything like this, and it's awesome.
It is pretty awesome. Like the narratives right now that we're seeing around the team are definitely just they are in a different place right now than they've been historically. It's been rough sometimes as a Celtics fan, trying to even just communicate in a neutral way with fan bases across like Reddit, say. In fact, even today, there was someone being a wise ass in some odd sub. It was not related to Celtics necessarily. It was like it was kind of a funny sub. It was, what's your like most ridiculous take on a thing, or your take that's going to be the least popular, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Some wise ass was like, every Celtics fan should have to pay some compounding tax for every year that they're a fan of the Celtics. Like, yeah.
Why?
So that's a whole thing. Right. That's a whole thing. Don't worry. I shot back.
Nice. There we go.
I was like, listen, not for nothing, but, Philly's in a whole bunch of debt. Not the team. I'm talking about the city. Y'all need to get your shit together. All right. So don't worry about us Boston Celtic fans paying taxes. Y'all need to clear up that debt and then come talk to us. All right. We'll see y'all in the playoffs. That dude, he came back at me. Let me tell you, he came back at me and he goes, he did one of those like passive aggressive things where he's like, oh, it looks like you really tried hard to, have a comeback. I like the effort, Responded back. I was like, yeah, that's funny. That's kind of what the Celtics say to the Sixers every time we meet in the playoffs. So I'll see you later.
How's the confetti, man? Yeah.
Always a good time, talking some junk. And now we get to kind of flex a little different swag than we have the last few years, and it's nice.
Feels
and
good,
after the
man.
the vibes earlier this year, the way everyone was, not everyone, but a lot of folks are just, it's tough. I get it. I know I'm the eternal optimist. I know I look for silver linings everywhere. And at some point I'll probably have to just qualify that a little bit more, because I'm not trying to paint it like I'm a blind optimist either. Like I get it.
Sure.
But yeah, good game. I want to kind of break this. This to me felt like a tale of two halves.
Very much so.
I don't know how you felt about this, but I watched this game. Spoons, I watched this game, and I'm watching the body language, and my profession is all about behavior, right? Like all I do is assess, evaluate, consider, and just spend all of my time in that space. So when I'm watching, I'm often really like, I'm looking at facial expressions, I'm looking at posture, I'm looking at cadence when they're running, and like I'm watching for all these things. I'm telling you, this game on both sides of the floor too, not even just the Celtics, but this game just had some weird vibes in that first half. What were you feeling, Spoons?
No, absolutely the same thing. I don't know. We said this a few months back, Jay. I think it was after an Orlando game, and we said the same thing. It was like the crowd felt dead. The players felt like they didn't really want to be there. I don't know, Jaylen's just like throwing the ball to the other team. It was just sloppy all over the place. It's hard to kind of put your finger on it because I know they're trying, right? They're obviously not, but they kind of were going through the motions a little bit almost. Like, all right, let's run a set. Let's, get Plumlee in an ISO and see if we could score. It was really bizarre. I think part of it was Charlotte was running that zone, and we're just kind of knocking it around the perimeter. It's tough to drive because Plumlee's always right there. But yeah, it was just a strange vibe.
So I got two points on that I'd like to get your thoughts on here. The first one is it just me? Here's another. Is it just me, or did the refs only seem to be able to see Robert Williams this evening?
I know.
And then when they finally put enough
whistle.
fouls on him to get him out of the game, they're like, "Oh, Tice, we remember him. Let's get back to business here. We know exactly what to do." What the hell was going on?
I don't know, man. And some of those, one Ime challenged, I do not know how he lost that, man. That was straight rule of verticality, like textbook rule of verticality, man. So, and then there was another 50-50 for his fifth where I thought he got the block, maybe a little bit of contact, but the type of stuff you don't usually see called on Rob. But that was tough. Yeah, Tice, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the reunion with Daniel Tice here, Jay?
All right. So before I say anything that's going to get me on Bongo's hit list, I want to put out a disclaimer. Bongos, I love me some Tice. I do love me some Tice. But here's the thing. When Tice was on this team originally, I'm torn between two thoughts here. On one hand, I'm wondering, has Tice maybe just lost a step? Maybe he's just not as good as he was when he was here last time.
Yeah.
But then I'm wondering, maybe this is Tice and this has always been Tice, and maybe it's just more noticeable now because of how blessed we are currently with Rob.
Yeah,
right?
and Al.
And Al. When we had Tice before, there was nothing else. Tice was all that was left after that,
right.
that team kind of got disassembled and reassembled a couple of times. And so he was able to do some switching that was great. He could hedge well. He could, he had those fingertip blocks all the time, which were, a really nice component to his game. And he was a vertical threat, which is good. He was the guy that would catch the oops from Marcus before we had Rob, right? That he was that guy. But it's just not the same, or it doesn't appear the same. And that's why I'm wondering, is it me dealing with an optical illusion here because now there's such a stronger contrast? Or
right.
Do you think maybe it is just a couple of teams and a couple of steps lost?
I think you're hit the nail on the head with one. Yeah, he just looks worse in comparison, but I feel like he's lost a step, man. It really just does not feel like he's the same athlete. And also, cut him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. This is a different scheme, different players, and he shows up, 3-4 weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's tough, man. It really is tough. But I fear that maybe this is just the guy we have now. And, he got 5 minutes of run in a game that Rob Williams was in heavy foul trouble. That is not a good sign. I mean, clearly Ime does not really trust him. And I think most of that time was played with Al Horford, and Tice was at the 4. So you're not really doing him any favors playing him at the 4 either, but clearly he doesn't feel like he can handle the 5 alone. I'd like to see a little bit of that as we get closer to the playoffs, because we may need that, man. Especially if we play the Sixers and we're playing Embiid, those fouls will rack up real quick. Yeah,
and even with the lost step, I don't want to paint it as if the guy's useless out there, because he's absolutely not.
He's fine.
Again, I think it's exaggerated a bit because now we've got this When's the last time we had someone like Rob Williams as a big man, right?
KG.
Al Horford when we first got him, maybe, bit, right?
Yeah.
But still different, right? Different. And yeah, KG is probably the last time we had someone that was this dynamic and explosive, a player on the team that I know he's never going to be Garnett. He's never going to, get those kinds of numbers or any of that, but it's that level of excitement, the way that he gets on the court, you're watching Rob Williams. People are watching him, right? It's Tatum and it's Rob. And then when you get highlights from Smart and Jaylen, it's likely paired with one of those two, right? And I'm not trying to throw shade at the other guys because everyone knows how I feel about Marcus Smart. But I'm just saying, in general, people that are watching the Celtics right now, they're looking for Tatum, the God, and we're gonna get to that. We're gonna
Yes,
spend some time talking about Tatum.
Yeah.
But we're gonna give Tatum the appropriate space that he deserves. We're not gonna clunk him in with. Listen, we're not gonna pair our segment with Jayson Tatum with Daniel Tice right now. We're just not gonna do that.
Tatum gets his own.
Tatum gets his own. So just to say, I think. Yeah, it's a little exaggerated, but I'm still happy to have Tice back. And I think if you're going to have a third big man, I don't know if you can do much better than what you can get out of Tice, especially because the guy's he's a committed dude. You never see anything but that dude being a workhorse out there, even with the whole league of refs,
conspiring against him. Yeah. And so, clearly, sorry, go ahead.
No, because I was going to switch gears. So you finish that thought.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, clearly the guys really like him too. I think Tatum and Brown really like Tice and Smart. So that, not for nothing, right? Like, you want to keep your locker room positive. You want to keep the good vibes going. Tice, consummate vibesman, very good on the vibes front. So he's got value there too.
Shout out to Joe and Jackson. We have again plugged in consummate into the pod.
We hit the quota.
Oh no, there's more to come. So I want to close out talking about this first half, and go slightly back to the weird vibes that we were kind of talking about, because everything was looking pretty lovely when that game opened up. And then a couple of quick calls on Rob, and he's got to get pulled out. And then all of a sudden, Isaiah Thomas comes into the game. And not for nothing, I don't know how you felt, but my feelings were all over the place in that moment. My feelings were I was a mess. Spoons, let me tell you something. I love me some IT. And that being said, I got a lot of flack from family when we traded IT for Kyrie, because I got on the bandwagon. I was like, listen, I'm bought in. I'm with this. I'm about it. I get it. I understand it. I hated losing that because that man, he embodied he wasn't just a good player. He wasn't just having a magical year. Like, he embodied a certain like spirit and temperament and just like grit and champion level, like overcome, like just energy. You just can't help but just want to give all of yourself and your heart to this guy and be like, just make all this magic keep happening. But again, I understood it. But then having to watch the last several years of this, the campaigning on Twitter, and honestly, I would love nothing more to see dude in a Celtics jersey for my own sort of like selfish benefit and sentimentality. I know there's some folks out there that don't love that idea. They don't like the idea of sort of memeing IT. They like the idea of, listen, if the last memories we have with IT as a Celtic are him competing at just a ridiculously amazing level in the
MVP
playoffs,
level, basically.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of the fans are feeling like we're good with that. Like, as much as I don't think folks that are saying that mean it in a way of saying they wouldn't love to have IT back. I think they just don't want to damage what they have as far as that like image and that sentiment they have in their head. And when he came in, I know my feelings got all over the place, and it really did kind of seem to coincide when the Celtics also just started kind of falling apart, throwing turnovers everywhere. People are arguing. It looked like JB was gonna choke out Peyton Pritchard for a second.
Yeah, it did.
Peyton looked scared, man. Like, JB's a nice guy. Peyton Pritchard looks scared.
I would be very scared of an angry Jaylen Brown. What was Jaylen just seemed like totally checked out, man. That was like a bizarre performance from him. He kind of put it together in the third and fourth, but that first half, that is like the worst I've seen him without an injury in a long time. I mean, I don't know. He literally just like threw it to the Hornets a couple times. He had 4 turnovers, led the team. Like, I don't know, man. He got to get his head right or something.
Someone, and I'm going to apologize right now if the person that said this in the game thread listens to the pod and hears this, please give a shout out in our podcast thread that'll get posted up, and scold me for not shouting you out, and I'll make up for it. But someone in the game thread had made the point that he tends to have like a little stretch of struggles when he comes back from injury. Like that does seem to be a bit of a pattern for him. Or when he comes back from an injury, it takes him a little bit to really get sort of his mojo back. And I mean, I'm surprised he's back as soon as he is, because that looked like a worse sprain than
for sure
it seems to have been.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to question dude, because I think no one knows Jaylen's body better than Jaylen does. So it's just surprising to me. But it was interesting, and I appreciated that insight that was shared in that game thread. Again, if you're listening, please shout out in our thread when this gets posted, and please scold me, because I should be crediting you for that, because I thought it was a good insight to share. But have you noticed that? Is that an observation that you kind of align with? Is that based in some logic from your perspective?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I think part of it too, and I do not mean this to be negative, but I don't think Jaylen has that kind of like natural basketball acumen like Tatum or somebody, like Kyrie, LaMelo Ball, like that, like just naturally their handle, everything is just so seemingly easy for them. Like the skills, Jaylen had to develop these skills by like incredible, absurd hard work. And I wonder if that's part of it too. When he's like away from the game a little bit, it just takes him a little while longer than some of these guys to get back into the flow of the game, get his handle right, all that type of stuff. But that's no excuse. I don't know.
I mean, look, we're not looking for excuses. We're looking for understanding, right? Like,
right,
it's
exactly.
It's not about excuses. It's just about understanding. I don't think Jaylen needs an excuse, right? Like, the guy was still working. The one thing that bothered me a bit was, and this is why I thought maybe too that it might be like you're saying, maybe it is just kind of getting that rhythm, that flow, just the cadence back. But like even on defense, he seemed just a little sleepier than he normally is. Like he tends to be a stronger on-ball defender than he is a team defender.
Definitely.
But even that said, like it just at certain times it just seemed like the energy wasn't there. In the first half, he had one play where he had got the ball and he had like a couple. I think it was after a couple of those turnovers, and he must have just been pissed again, or maybe this was even before the Pritchard thing. But he like got real aggressive with the dribble. He tried a couple of spin moves and then he like faded away. And it was like it looked like he went from 0 to 100 in like half a tenth of a second. But then it was like he was gassed for the rest of the half.
Right.
And then
really weird.
Like you said, he picked it back up in the second half, as did the rest of the team, especially that fourth quarter. But yeah, it was weird vibes from most of the guys. And then I think Jaylen definitely had some exceptionally odd vibes, and hopefully he's coming back in the next game and feeling a bit more himself. And again, I'm not trying to like speak for Jaylen. I haven't heard his post game comments either, so I'm not quite sure where his head is at currently. I'll be interested to hear some of that, but I was glad to see him finish pretty strong and make some strong plays there, and I don't think we have to worry too much. I think he'll figure it out.
No, I think he'll be fine.
He might end up strangling Pritchard, and we might have to worry about him, but...
Does he come off the cap if that happens? Or what?
One last note on that. I don't know if you caught it, but in that second half, at one point, Jaylen threw a pass over to Pritchard for a 3, and then Pritchard airballed that shit. And I might be misremembering, or I might be projecting like my own narrative into this, but I just saw Brown like roll his eyes, like put his head down and start scowling, like, "You son of a bitch, I'm never passing to you again."
It's too bad, man. Come on, you gotta trust Peyton.
You do.
He's been stroking it recently too.
And he's been getting his shot back. Horford's been getting his shot back.
Yeah, like, Horford is big. That's a huge help. That's a huge help. Yeah, let me shout out, throw a Reddit comment in here that kind of think does a really good job of summing up part of the game. It's from our guy ZGamer200.
Oh, steady listener. Thank you, ZGamer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, shout out ZGamer. Tatum got so close to dropping 100 over 2 games, came up just 2 points short. Either way, another good win by this team as Tatum scores 44. Rob with the loud dunk for his 23rd double-double of the season, which is crazy because he felt like he barely played. Smart with dishing out 9 assists. And the guy I want to talk about, Derrick White, dishing out 8 assists of his own, and another fun night of Celtics basketball. I thought White he's just a hooper, man. He just comes in, he just does the right thing. He just knows where to be. He's taking all sorts of damn charges. Like him and Smart are just falling down on defense, getting the call all day. He's in there he had like one crazy steal where he may even have turned it over And then he like rushed back and picked Oubre's pocket from behind as he was going up for a layup. And it's like, man, that saves you 2 points. Like, it's hard to quantify how helpful and how important it is. And, you know, that's what our argument for like why Celtics fans love Marcus Smart, right? Because we watch him, we see him do stuff like that. And Derrick White feels kind of like the same type of dude, but man, I just wish he could make some fucking threes, man.
He
like,
got
come
one.
On. He
got
did.
one.
He was 1 for 5.
He opened up strong. He opened up strong. He had that one right in the open. You know, I'll give dude credit though, because even when that shot isn't falling or he's not even necessarily taking a whole bunch of them, he does have a very good knack at just finding other ways to contribute. And I think, you know, I've seen some temperaments be a little bit down on him and talk about because the shot's not really falling a whole bunch, but like he's never been a prolific shooter, so that's nothing that we expected. We kind of hoped maybe it would get better, and it still might, but
it will.
The way that he's able to attack the basket confidently, like we were getting excited when we were watching Romeo like tease that, right? Like
right.
We were getting really worked up and excited because Romeo was teasing what this guy is doing, like just naturally, instinctively, with
every game,
complete confidence, and not just getting to the basket, right? But sometimes he's finishing when he's got the space, and sometimes when he doesn't, or he's making really thoughtful dishes and racking up assists. I love it, and the defense is dynamite.
Yeah, I feel like he gets fouled quite a bit too. Like he kind of baits those bullshit fouls where he like goes up early when the defender's not really expecting it and gets foul calls. So yeah, I think he had a pretty rough game against the Nets, but a good turnaround game for him. I was really impressed. And
shout out to the Charlotte Hornets commentators for their remarkable insight when Brown and Derrick White were in the game at the same time. The Charlotte announcers just wanted to let all the audience know when they're on the floor together, you can just call them beige.
Call them beige, baby. I like it. Why not?
Yeah, I had a fantastic stream with the Charlotte announcers all night. That was a fun experience. Some real gems from the Charlotte team over there. Y'all doing a bang up job. Really appreciate you. Also,
isn't Del Curry one of them?
I have no idea.
I think it's Del.
I only heard their voices.
Del.
I never saw any of the video.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned kind of like Orlando. Just to listen, it's not a Celtics J hosted podcast unless Celtics J is throwing some shade at another organization. So here's another example, like you had slightly alluded to, where the crowd really wasn't feeling it. In fact, the crowd at Charlotte was probably a little bit lean in Celtics.
At least
there was a couple
50,
times
50.
the camera panned to the audience or the crowd there, and you'd see like one guy in a Charlotte jersey surrounded by like 5 or 6 people,
right? Yeah,
just looking miserable as hell. Like, what am I doing here? And then at one point, when the Celtics really kind of started blowing it open, they hadn't quite got like the 20-point lead, but they were starting to shift that momentum again. That whole crowd just apparently realized what was happening and went dead silent. And so the hype guy comes out, you know, like their version
bastard.
of Our Lucky, right?
Yeah,
comes out for the t-shirt throwing whole bit. Like, make some noise, everybody, up. And they pan to the crowd. Everyone's just staring silently at him.
Oh, man, dude, that's got to be like the worst fucking job when the team's losing.
Oh,
like,
man.
It must be almost like embarrassing. You know what I mean? Like when no one's feeling it at all and you've just got to pretend to be hyped and the team's like, down 18, like that's just gotta be awful, dude. I feel
someone's
bad
gotta give that man a
them.
raise.
Yeah,
that's a tough bag to have to run around with right there. Yeah. So let's look at the second half because this really is. It's a tale of two halves here. That first half was weird, kind of wonky, but then we come in third quarter. We don't get a whole lot of separation, but we do enough that we do stretch the lead that we had going into half. We stretched out. I think it was about 9 going into that fourth quarter. Just steady as she goes, you know, like nothing crazy. Nothing was really working a whole lot better. But what I really liked and what I've noticed and appreciated over this stretch is that this team is just steady. It's steady. And the moment the other team lets up a little bit, we push, right?
Yeah.
And what I love about that is for the longest time, it's felt like we've been on the other side of that. Like other teams are just like waiting for us to let up a little bit, and then they stomp on us. And it's like now we're on the other side of that.
Yeah, we got a Reddit comment that's Onavi24. I don't get nervous in the fourth quarter anymore. I'm extremely happy about that. And I had it until I saw that comment.
Social
I
blood
hadn't
pressure,
really,
man.
Yeah, right, for real. I hadn't really thought about it, but it's right. Like I was not like that sense of dread and anxiety entering like a relatively close game in the fourth quarter I had in the first half of the season isn't really there anymore. I was like, all right, they'll close this thing out. Like they'll tighten the screws and it'll be over. And man, that makes these games so much more enjoyable to watch.
Man, and you count on it now. Like that's the thing. Like it seemed like for the longest time, a lot of the fan base was going into games with like dread, right? Or coming out of quarters with dread. They'd see a stretch of tough basketball and it'd be dread. I know we chatted a little bit during the game, and during that first half especially, we're like, man, this is weird. Mm-hmm. But at no point did I feel like panicked. I'm like, listen, we still got a 4-point lead, and like we're really not clicking right now.
Not playing well, yeah.
Like give Ime a halftime to calibrate these dudes. Coach of the month, not for nothing.
That's right, yeah.
So give us a halftime. We'll figure this thing out. Don't let us go into halftime with a lead, but also don't let us go into halftime behind because that's only going to motivate us more.
When is the last time we got blown out?
Oh, man.
December?
Yeah. I think, it's been a minute.
Right? I can't even remember the last time we lost by like 15 or 20.
No, because now we're winning those.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
And
now
we're not giving up those
winning
leads
by
anymore.
That. Right, yeah. I just was thinking about that.
We're just waiting to get the leads into the fourth quarter. Maybe Ime just pulls them maybe Ime sat them down after that New York Knicks game and was like, listen, guys, from now on, we're just going to wait to get our lead until the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
let's just do
get that fourth quarter net
rating. Because holding the lead
up.
for 2-3 quarters is just like, that's a pain in the ass. Don't you guys think?
It's too hard.
Let's just get into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I want to add one thing to that before we totally move on, because one of the comments that was in the game thread, and it was in the third quarter when things were still pretty close. We were still kind of going back and forth with some runs. And I mean, not for nothing, but the officiating was bull today. Complete bull today.
It was bad. It was bad,
like,
man.
You could hear contact. You could hear the contact.
Yeah.
And also, that's because the Charlotte fans were not making enough noise.
There was
but you
no
could
noise.
hear the contact. And so one person in the game thread, Priest Callum, put the comment in, Hornets have shot all the way up my list of hated teams today. I cannot stand watching the officials hand a team a game they don't deserve. And I thought that was hysterical because a little bit later, like towards the fourth quarter, getting towards the end when the Celtics are up, I think like 17, 18 points.
Yeah.
We get fouled at the basket, and one of the Charlotte announcers goes on a little tangent. The Hornets haven't gotten the benefit of the doubt all night. I'm like,
I'm pretty sure we shot like 4 free throws in the first half to their like 15. Yeah, right. I think it was that Grant Williams play where it got dumped off to Grant with like 1 second left on the shot clock, and
yeah.
He got fouled, man.
Yeah.
Like, what do you? Yeah.
They're like, they're bailing him out. We haven't gotten the benefit of the doubt all day. Okay.
I don't think so, dude.
You'll all be all right.
Yeah.
So, let's take us into the next point that you wanted to touch on.
All right, man. We got two last Reddit comments here. User 256 Dak. Jayson Tatum is better than everyone. That's all. And then user Nifera, Nifera _ how did Danny know, man? And it's like, we could be watching Markelle Fultz right now. And we're watching Jayson Tatum drop 100 points in 2 games and ascend to, I mean, I love Scal is definitely like pumping the propaganda, the top 5 propaganda all night. He was like, I think he's a top 5 player. He could do, he's calling him a superstar every time he touches the ball.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
That's what I'm talking about, Scal. So, I mean, it was just like, he somehow had like a quiet 24, 26 points going into the fourth quarter, and then like the loudest 20 points possible. I mean, it was like he was playing a different game than everybody else. He was just so far and away the best player on the court. A court with two other all-stars and LaMelo and Jaylen Brown too, and he was just like a clear step above them everywhere on defense, making the right plays on offense, hitting shots that were just like ridiculous. You know, like Al Horford was laughing on the bench at one point, and as was I. I was cackling down here watching it in my basement.
Listen, the law of averages, man, it was bound to happen at some point. It was bound to happen at some point. That man just got, he just graduated from whatever school was handing out the degrees for that law of averages, and it's all working out now. Because, he's the last couple of games, he is just pouring it in. But even before the shot started falling again, right? Like, I think the thing that stood out the most for me with Tatum has just been, and you mentioned this before too, it's the speed and the quickness with the decision making right now. And it's the assertiveness, man. Yeah, he's on another level. Love him or Tatum, the man is top 5.
Damn right, dude. Yeah, it's just I think we talked about, it might have been I think it was you and I, Jay, we talked about that. Is him losing his jumper actually going to help him in the long run? Because it makes him think about the game a different way, right? He could always rely on like, well, I can get to my step back anytime I want. And he would almost over-rely on it. And when that's going in at 38%, like that's kind of okay. When it's going in at 30%, it's not. And now that you're I really do think he changed the way he played some because the shot wasn't falling. And now you've blended like all the skills he's developed by playing like that with getting the shot back. And we're seeing like, it's domination, dude. Like, I mean, it is absolute domination. He just decided, all right, now I'll go out here and win this game in the fourth quarter. And he did it very easily.
I like to have the image in my head of Ime in the locker room with Tatum, handing Tatum like a sandwich or something. But so just quick transparency. Growing up, I was an avid Pokemon game player.
Hell yeah.
Like the OG ones though, like blue, red. I didn't play anything but
red.
blue.
Yeah, I played
blue,
red all day, man.
Yeah.
Squirtle.
Yeah, right. Well, all right, Bulbasaur over here, but whatever. It's cool. It's fine. No judgment. So like in my head, I'm imagining Ime in the back at some like after that Knicks game and like handing Tatum a sandwich that he like slips some rare candy into and like a moonstone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Tatum is just like turned into fucking Charizard.
Yeah.
It's like what the hell's happening? Because
seriously,
he's not just going to the basket now. And no one can convince me otherwise about what I'm about to say. This man is going to the basket with a level of viciousness that has not been seen from Tatum to this point. What we have seen the last couple of weeks from Tatum going to the basket, and I mean, he is not like going to the basket and trying to finesse nothing. He's saying, get out of my way, or you're going to be on my next poster. And he's doing, like, he is putting it down. This dude, did he just get a sponsorship with Dunkin' Donuts or some shit? What is going on? This man is going bonkers. Everything is getting smashed in that basket, right? He is angry. This is angry Tatum.
And it's weird and it's almost like strange to say this guy just took like, I don't know, 50 shots, 60 shots, 50 something shots in 2 games. It's kind of weird to say like he's making all the right decisions because that kind of feels ball hoggy, but he's making all the right decisions, man, too. Like the shot's there, he takes it. It's not, he gets some penetration and moves the ball, or he simply just moves it quickly. I mean, it's like, this feels a little different than like his hot runs in the past where it's like, okay, he's hitting a bunch of step backs. That's not quite, I mean, obviously his shot's coming back and that helps, but there's like this whole other step I feel like he's taken that if he can continue to play like this, I mean, the top 5 will not be a meme. He is going to get to that level. And damn, it is so fun to watch, dude.
Oh, and he hasn't even gotten started. And And I'm having to eat a little bit of crow because there's been times when I've been on the man. I lean a little bit more Jaylen Brown. Like there's aspects to Jaylen Brown and like his story, his narrative that I really appreciate. And I've had times I will fully admit, and I'll take the heat for it. You can go to my old. So everyone listening, you can go to my old post and downvote the hell out of them because I'm saying some ridiculous stuff, and that's fine. But I did at different times. I would question my head. Would I go with Brown? And I'm telling you right now, if I were a GM, I'd have messed a whole bunch of stuff up if I had made a decision like that. Because listen, for every person that has ever been like, dude, you're ridiculous for saying you choose Brown over Tatum. Here's the thing. Ultimately, I don't think I'd ever have it in me to trade either one of those cats. Like,
Hell no.
I've never. But when it's come up and people, I've been like, man, there's things about just the way that I appreciate how Jaylen goes about the game.
Sure.
And the way that he just, I like that he's had to work a little, and it looks harder for him to do stuff. Whereas Tatum, it does. It looks when he's in that zone, it so just smooth. Does look like it. And he's smiling out there, but he also looks angry. It's great. It's like he's moving angry, but he looks happy. It's very unnerving.
Psychotic,
especially if you're on the other team. He's not a fun guy to play against right now. I don't
Hell
think.
No. This whole team isn't fun to play against, man. Smart, Derrick White, both the Jays. Rob just swatting the basketball back in your face every time you shoot. Like,
man,
he's a hard team
reckless,
to play,
but in the most like positive way right now.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Lovely. Now I gotta ask you because I've got one, and I'm like proud of it because I think it's like in an elitist way. I think I've identified a part of the game for Tatum that I think is my favorite, and I'm just going to feel away because it's not what I think would be typically expected, but I want to hear yours first so I can judge it and make fun of it. What's your favorite play from Tatum this evening?
You probably will. Well, okay. There was one block he had that was pretty awesome. I can't remember who bodied up the ball handler. I think it was Terry Rozier, actually. I think Grant might have slowed him down, and then Terry tried to go up. And Tatum had like sprinted back to get back on defense, as I recall, but it all kind of
first half,
together.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Spoons,
and then he just.
This is how I know you're like my Celtics fandom soulmate.
Is that what you were gonna talk about?
Spoons, that's the exact play.
No shit.
The
Hell
moment
yeah.
I saw, I was like, "There's no way I can ever forget this." Because I'll tell you right now, whatever happens for the rest of Tatum's career. That for me is going to be the moment that I fully bought into Tatum as an unquestionable star that has the ability to lead this team to a championship. Because how many times have we sat there and been frustrated because Tatum feels like he gets fouled and he's like going nuts and he's like trying to make a case, and then on the other end we're playing 4-on-5. And on one hand, you got to kind of just live with some of that stuff because it's a little bit nature of the game. What are you going to do? And unfortunately, you got to politic a little bit with these refs.
Sure.
But in that moment, we're not clicking. Things aren't going really great. There's not a lot of cushion or wiggle room. And it's like he's so in the game right now that it's like, I don't know how intentional it was, but it certainly looked like he just understood now's not the time to F around.
Yeah.
I'm getting this back.
Yeah.
And he did. He turned right the hell around and said, that's mine again. I'm
he
getting
swatted
shot.
The shit out of that
He
ball,
was not playing around. Listen, there's only one thing Tatum is not currently doing when he's on that basketball court, and that's fucking around.
That's for sure.
I'm telling you.
That's the step back in the corner was pretty awesome too.
Oh my, yeah.
That's so sick, dude.
But it was the timing for that defensive play, though. You know,
it was
the
awesome.
timing. It was that intensity. He was not to be trifled with. Then though, everything was going wrong. It felt like nothing was really clicking. And he just didn't care. And then but I think that's the kind of stuff that then fuels the fourth quarter explosions. Because at that point now, you've been dictating the game. Like the only reason why that game didn't get out of hand, where we were in like a hole to have to dig out of, is because Tatum said no. Like that's just not going to happen today. Like I'm good with all that. You know, the Nets were tough enough. I'm not gonna deal with this nonsense from Charlotte.
Not letting the Hornets beat me.
Gordon's not even playing. I don't think so.
Right.
Not gonna happen. All right, everybody, that's gonna wrap us up for this evening. Want to thank everybody for taking some time out and listening to us chop it up. really great vibes happening with the Celtics right now. We're seeing really, I think, some payoff from some rough times. And that's kind of there's a little bit of poetry to that, I feel like, right? Like going through some hard times and then persevering, overcoming. Like right now, these guys are really developing a narrative, a story around them that's hard not to root for. And I think we're starting to see a lot of the mainstream narrative come around to that as well. And I think I speak for everyone that's listening right now. We're all just really excited to see where this continues to go. So until next time, look for us on YouTube, on the channel there. You can see us up on Twitter. And as always, please reach out to us and continue these conversations and discussions. Looking forward to the next chance we get to chat with everybody. We'll see you then.